Hi boys and girls, I'm going to go ahead and show you where you can find your assignment for ELA lesson 1103. Then we're going to go over what you need to do in order to complete that assignment. All right, so you're going to go to your language arts course. And we are looking at module 11. And we're looking at lesson 1103, compare and contrast summer in New York City. So you're going to click on the lesson. Okay, and this is a 10-page lesson. You're going to want to make sure you go through all 10 pages because it's going to go through the content that you need for your assignment and for your assessment at the end of the module. Your assessment is on the last page, page 10, and it says here it's time to show what you know. Submit the character response that you worked on in the lesson to 1103 compare and contrast summer in New York City. The question is listed below as a reminder. So you have your rubric here to help guide you. And then here's the character response question. How are John's and Paul's reactions to the bag similar? How are they different? Use specific details from the story to support your answer. Now, this question is something that you're going to work on throughout the lesson. And on your weekly announcements here, I put an assignment note that this assignment is located on page 5 of the 11.03 lesson. Follow all the steps and directions on page 5 and you'll be successful. So, as I said, let's go back to the lesson. As I said, this is a question that you're going to be working on throughout the lesson. This specific activity is located on page 5. So let's go take a look at page 5 of the lesson. Summer in New York City. Are you ready for a big adventure? Join Johnny and his friends as they head into the city. It's interesting to read and see how characters respond to events and to other characters. So pay close attention to Johnny and the other characters in the story. So you're going to read chapters 1 through 3 of Summer in New York City. That story is located here at the bottom. You can go through it using the slide deck. You can also open the story from going to your resources tab here if you want it all on one page. Then, as you're reading chapters 1 through 3, you're going to compare and contrast the settings, characters, and main events in the chapters. Settings being where and when the story takes place, characters, the people in the story, and the main events, the things that happen, the actions that happen. So you're going to compare and contrast those things. You're going to draw boxes around any similarities in the story elements using the text selector in the toolbox. Circle any differences you notice using the text selector from the toolbox. So as you're reading the story, you can use the toolbox tool to underline and highlight or circle and box the different parts of the text. And your tools is right here. Text selector, and you can box things or you can circle things by highlighting it. Okay, so again, I'll show you where that was. You've got your little tool icon here, text selector. This will pop up and you can box and circle the text. Okay, and again, that was steps 3 through 4. You're going to draw boxes around any similarities in the story elements, and then you're going to circle any differences you notice. So as you're going through that story, you're going to use that text selector tool. You can also print the text from the resource tab and use paper and pencil. All right, and then step 5, you're going to underline characters' responses to the events that take place using the text selector tool from the toolbox. Okay, so as you're reading this story, chapters 1 through 3, you're going to do just a little bit of note-taking using your text selector tool, drawing boxes around any similarities of the settings, the characters, and the events. You're going to circle any differences, and then you're going to underline characters' responses. And that part of the activity is important because it's going to start kind of guiding your thoughts to the question that you need to answer. Okay, so then here's your try it. This is where your assignment comes in. I'm sorry, this is more planning for your assignment. You're going to draw a 3-column chart in your interactive notebook, which is just your spiral notebook, to compare and contrast the story elements. You're going to compare John and Paul. You're going to compare the settings on the steps of the Metropolitan Museum of Art and inside the Met. The Met is a short phrase for, a short word for a Metropolitan Museum of Art. So you're going to be comparing the inside of the Metropolitan Museum of Art and on the steps of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And then you're also going to be comparing the events, receiving a coded message from the man and the man switching the backpacks. So you're going to be comparing and contrasting the characters, the settings, and the events. Here's characters' responses. Make sure you pay attention to how John and Paul respond to the events. Include their reactions to the events on your graphic organizer. And this is an example here. Now, again, this is just an example. You'll notice this is focusing on two different characters, two different settings, and two different events. But this is just a guide to kind of guide you through that thinking. Now, here is where your assignment begins. So all that beginning work at the top of the lesson is what's going to prepare you for your write about it activity, which is what you're going to turn in for your assignment. So write about it. After completing your chart, you will use your notes from the chart along with the story that you read to respond to the following text-based question. And this is a question that is for your assignment. How are John's and Paul's reactions to the bag similar? How are they different? Use specific details from the story to support your answer. You're going to submit this response to me at the end of the lesson. Okay, so page 5, you've got a little bit of activity here at the beginning, and then your assignment is at the bottom where write about it. Okay, so let's go back to that last page of the lesson. You'll notice that that question on page 5 is the same question that you're responding to for your assignment. You can type it out, you can handwrite it, and then when you're done, you'll go to the next activity tab, you'll click on your blue plus button that you have on your screen and submit your work.